the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jody Ann Quarry.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Wednesday, June 24, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, Leota Bradshaw, former United States Navy petty officer and the alleged mastermind in the double murder of politician Philip Paulwell's 10-month-old daughter Soraya and her mother, 27-year-old Tashania Patterson, is scheduled to return to court on September 17 of this year for a trial readiness hearing to ensure full disclosure has been made. The trial is set to begin on September 28, 2026. Now, Bradshaw is charged with 2 counts of capital murder, conspiracy to murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy to kidnap. To other news now, several communities across western Jamaica were left without electricity on Wednesday morning following a high-velocity freak storm damaging homes, business establishments and roadways. Residents living in areas of Hopewell, Lucy, Sandy Bay and Green Island in Hanover, as well as sections of Westmoreland, expressed shock at the sudden bursts of high wind and heavy rainfall which lasted several hours. Flooding and fallen trees caused major delays as they obstructed the movement of residents living in sections of eastern and western Hanover. The residents say this freak storm reminds them to be even more cautious going into the hurricane season. The Area 1 police have intensified patrols, spot checks and targeted operations across several western communities following an increase in murders in Hanover and St. James since the start of the year. According to Jamaica Constabulary Force statistics, Hanover recorded 10 murders up to June 20 compared to 7 during the corresponding period last year. St. James also saw an increase, recording 35 murders, up from 26 over the same period. In response, police have increased their presence in communities identified as violence hotspots, particularly in Hanover, where targeted operations are being carried out to curb criminal activity and prevent further bloodshed. Meanwhile, Westmoreland and Trelawney recorded declines in murders with 13 and 4 respectively, compared to 22 and 6 during the corresponding period last year. The police say the enhanced operations form part of ongoing efforts to reduce violent crime across the Area 1 division. Meanwhile, the Negril police have released a composite sketch of a man believed to be connected to a case of robbery with aggravation and wounding with intent stemming from an incident in Whitehall, Negril, Westmoreland on Saturday, April 25. According to reports, at approximately 6:30 p.m., a man was sitting inside his Toyota Voxy motor vehicle along Norman Manley Boulevard in Negril with a knapsack containing an undetermined sum of money. He was reportedly approached by 2 male assailants, one of whom was armed with a firearm. The men allegedly attempted to rob him, but he resisted. During the confrontation, the man was shot in the upper left shoulder and robbed of the knapsack. The attackers subsequently fled the scene on foot. The police are appealing to anyone with information that could assist the investigation to contact the police emergency number 119 or the nearest police station. Water Minister Matthew Samuda is pushing back against claims that politics is influencing the allocation of water projects across the island. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister Samuda dismissed the allegation as unfounded, arguing that major investments are benefiting constituencies represented by both the government and the opposition.
First one I noted covered in the media this morning was his claim that politics is being used for the distribution of water projects. that is abject nonsense. And that is easily provable, and I will read through some projects. We'll be developing the Port Morant Erie Castle water system in eastern St. Thomas, which doesn't sit with the government of the day. And we'll be developing the Green Park water system, which is a system that connects both northwest, northeast, and yes, southeast St. Anne. So yes, we are developing a lot of water systems, but the projects are equally shared. First one I noted.
Now, Jamaica is being warned to strengthen its cyber defenses as concerns grow over the rising threat of artificial intelligence being used in cybercrime and data breaches. Data protection practitioner Chukwemeka Cameron says the country may not be moving fast enough to match the pace of evolving digital threats. Kevin Black tells us more.
As concerns grow about the rise of AI-driven cyber attacks, questions are being raised about Jamaica's readiness to respond. Data privacy practitioner and attorney at law Chuck Cameron says while the threat is real, AI-powered cyber attacks primarily target digital systems and data. He added that the growing use of artificial intelligence in cybercrimes remains a concern, particularly as more personal and business information is stored online.
The concern is we are aggressively digitizing our services without building out the human layer. And what do I refer to as the human layer? I refer to the human layer as trained professionals who can help stand up and guide building out robust defenses.
But as cyber threats become increasingly sophisticated, attention is turning to whether Jamaica's cyber security and data protection laws are fit for purpose.
At no time can you regulate for every threat that presents itself. And as such, the objective is to draft legislation that is agnostic and robust enough that contemplates things that may have been overlooked. When we look at our Data Protection Act, it is extremely robust. Our Data Protection Act alone governs and regulates the use of AI because of how agnostic it is.
Cameron warns that without stronger cyber protections, businesses and public institutions could face greater risks in the years ahead.
A couple years ago, there was a big risk of our bank being banked by their counterparty banks overseas. Not the same risk that we have faced with it. If it is countries that have strong data protection laws, from the view that Jamaica does not have a robust data protection ecosystem, they would be reluctant to share personal data. And what that means with us, and what it means when you're reluctant to share personal data, that means they're reluctant to do business with us because all business is premised on the sharing of data.
Kevin Black for CVM News.
It's time now for a break, but stay with us. News at Noon continues after this message.
Don't just watch the action, be part of it with Chris and Charles' Score Big Loan Promotion. Upgrade your TV, plan that trip, or handle what matters most fast and easy. And here's the best part. Every loan gives you a chance to win one of 3 58-inch smart 4K TVs. So while your favorite team scores on the field, you could be scoring big too. Promotion runs May 11 to July 20, 2026. Visit any branch or Chris and Charles for details. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Score big this football season on and off the field.
It's a golden jubilee. Celebrating 50. From foundation to rooftop high. 50 years as the cornerstone of the nation. Brick by brick, side by side. We've been building dreams all across Jamaica. Housing generations with trust and care. We light the way with LHD. Home starts here, building communities. We're housing generations with heart and hope. We lead the way with LHD. The key to your home.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. We go now to news overseas. The U.S. Senate on Tuesday passed a largely symbolic resolution calling for an end to President Donald Trump's war with Iran. This now delivers a fresh rebuke to the White House as it tries to negotiate a lasting settlement with Tehran. France 24 has the details.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 48. The concurrent motion is agreed to.
It's an act of defiance against President Trump, but will it have any real legislative weight? On Tuesday, the US Senate passed a motion to block military action against Iran. It was the Senate's 10th vote on an Iran war powers measure this year, and the first one to pass.
Time after time, the vast majority of Senate Republicans sided with Trump and his war instead of the American people. The American people have paid the price for Trump's historic blunder in Iran. It'll go down in the history books as one of the worst foreign policy forays America has ever made, or any country has ever made.
4 Republicans voted with the Democrats, defying Trump over a war that has become increasingly unpopular with the American people. In a post on Truth Social, Trump was quick to respond.
The U.S. Senate decides to have a poorly timed and meaningless War Powers Act vote, telling the number one sponsor of terror in the world that the United States doesn't like what I'm doing to them. 4 Republican losers voted with the Democrats.
The motion passed the House in the beginning of June, when 4 Republicans joined every Democrat to approve it in a 215 to 208 vote. But despite approval by both houses of Congress, the resolution is a concurrent one, meaning it doesn't carry the force of law and doesn't require the president's signature. It does put pressure on the White House to put an end to an unpopular conflict, however, and signals increasing division amongst Republicans, with the midterms just months away.
Let's head now to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our live interview. Stay with us.
Every day starts with care. Care that's always close. Supermed Family of Pharmacies is where you go for everything you need. From your morning routine to life's biggest moments, Supermed Family of Pharmacies is always by your side. Whether it's prescriptions or household essentials, trust the care that's close to home. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed.
Employers, once a month, you have the power to shape Jamaica's future. By paying your hard 3% contribution, you're not just contributing, you're investing in people, in skills, in our economy. Your hard contribution trains working-age Jamaicans, aligns programs with workforce needs, and secures our future. That's not just contribution, it's transformation. Contribute to heart and to your future.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
The greatest show on earth is here! And Fan Central goes into extra time for 39 days right throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament. With a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame? Who were the best or worst players of the day? And have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association is raising alarm this afternoon over what it says is a worsening shortage of medical interns across the country's health facilities. The association says the reduced number of interns has resulted in excessive work hours, with some interns working between 24 and 32 hours on alternate days, and in some cases up to 56 consecutive hours. According to the JMDA, the staffing shortage is placing increased pressure on healthcare workers, affecting service delivery and raising concerns about patient safety and the quality of clinical training. Joining me now is President of the JMDA, Dr. Renee Bradshaw, who's with us on Zoom. Good afternoon, Dr. Bradshaw.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So we understand that the interns are protesting today. What has led the JMDA to support the protest action by the interns at this time?
The JMDA had to support our interns. We have our interns working in 1 in 2, and 1 in 2 means that they work 24-hour shifts every other day. And in addition to doing like a 24-hour shift, they have to work 8 hours of normal work. So consecutively, they're running anywhere from 24, 32 to about 56 hours. So we had to support them on that. And we had to also support them under the conditions that they had to stay, because, you know, as an intern, for those of you who don't know, the interns are required to stay on hospital compound. So if, for example, if a patient has an emergency, the patient needs an access, an IV access to get drips, they are the first point of contact. So they have to be nearby. So we were protesting, 1, for the working conditions, well, 1 for the working hours, and 2 for the conditions that they would have to stay.
When you say they have to stay on the compound, do you mean that they're not allowed to go home, for clarity?
Yes, they shouldn't go home.
Whoa.
Because if anything happens to a patient, they're the first point of contact. So you have to have them on the ground running to that patient. If a patient is crashing, to help in resuscitation, to site and access so we can get fluids in and life-saving medications inside the patient to save the patient's life. Yes.
And I do notice that you're in your blue, which was proposed by the JMDA for all doctors to wear blue today in solidarity with the interns. But talk to me about what this looks like on the ground. You have an intern, mind you, an intern. Mm-hmm. The person isn't yet a medical doctor, but
no,
they are.
No. Let me correct you there.
Please.
The person is a doctor.
A doctor.
Is a doctor.
Can you
Yes.
differentiate for us the difference between a regular doctor and an intern? Can you provide that explanation?
Sure. An intern is a doctor. So they have graduated from medical school. Mm-hmm. It's just that they can't practice independently. Like they can't sign a prescription independently, but they do the functions of a doctor.
Okay,
so they have
understood.
to be under supervision, yes.
Okay, understood. So what does this now look like on the ground when you have interns that work 24 hours, even more than 24 hours? What does this look like for patients coming in and out of the hospital?
Well, it's twofold. We have the workforce and the effect on patient care. With regards to patient care, the patient care is affected by, you'd have a burnt out doctor, a tired doctor seeing you. And if any error is made, that could add to the morbidity and mortality that the patient and the relatives would experience. And I'm sure you can imagine just how precise medicine has to be in order to save lives and also to preserve it and to prevent it from getting worse. Now, with regards to workforce, when you have a tired doctor, that tired doctor has to go home sometime. And when that doctor has to go home, what we end up with is car accidents or near misses. I myself have been in a near miss as an intern, and I've had a classmate of mine the same person had an accident twice. In this recent batch, we've had 4 accidents and 1 near miss that I've heard of. So you can imagine that the working hours are long and they affect your judgment.
And in addition to these accidents, have you heard of any other reports where, this, with doctors working long hours, it trickling down to the patient? For example, I mean, earlier you mentioned mortality. Have you heard of any specific reports?
I can't say specifically at this moment. We just know generally that is what can happen.
So the JMDA says some interns are working up to 56 consecutive hours. You just mentioned it a while ago. How widespread is this though? Is it every intern that we're seeing? Is it more than one hospital that we're seeing this happening at?
Okay, so the 56 hours, that does not necessarily happen at every institution. What we have happening more is the 1 in 2. So that is where persons work the 24, 32 hours consecutively. Okay? And that's happening at hospitals like Spanish Town Hospital, Maypen Hospital, Mandeville Regional Hospital, Savlamar Public Hospital, St. Anne's Hospital. There are, and Notre Bay Hospital, and of course, we cannot forget the University Hospital of the West Indies.
So how would you say the reduced intern to service ratio is impacting the training and development of future doctors?
If you have a doctor that is burnt out and tired, remember the purpose of internship is really to hone your clinical skills because you're a doctor now, right? You need to just get your license to be able to practice in private practice or practice independently. If you have a doctor that's burnt out, an intern that's burnt out, that's going to affect what skills they develop, how they put in an access, how they recognize certain diseases and how they treat it, how rapidly they respond to emergencies. Because when you're burnt out and tired and you work so many hours consecutively, it's like diminishing returns. So we were really concerned about the clinical acumen of these doctors, and not only these doctors, the doctors to come. And I really want to commend the interns because they fought not for themselves because they're almost finished with internship. They're going to finish in probably like July or end of June. They're fighting for the ones to come. And we are fighting with them for the ones to come so that this does not repeat itself.
So you mentioned UWI earlier, and we saw yesterday where a number of nurses at that health facility pretty much went on strike action because of some unrest at the facility. How does this unrest among the nurses now compound on the issues that doctors themselves are already facing?
Well, you can imagine that it further shortens the available workforce to see and treat patients. Because when it is that any particular group is unavailable for any reason whatsoever, the group that is left will then be left to take up that load. Or what would have to happen is that we'd have to cancel patients like for surgeries or cancel any regular clinics in order because we just can't cope if we don't have our colleagues in the field. We work as a team. Every person of the team is invaluable. We all have our different responsibilities. And when we miss one set, that affects us, the doctors, or other healthcare workers. It also affects the patients.
Has there been any conversation with the Ministry of Health in terms of finding a solution for this problem?
The Ministry of Health actually just had a press release. The minister said that in the press release he would be contacting the JMDA, and my phone line is open. Based on the press release that I've just seen, I do believe that this is a step in the right direction, and I applaud the Ministry of Health for that. But right now I do wait for that telephone call.
Now, one of the things that the association has called for is additional internship posts and temporary staffing measures. How quickly do you think these solutions need to be implemented?
In the ensuing weeks, they need to be implemented quickly because if the new set that comes, and if that's not resolved for them, this set that actually is graduating this year is smaller than the class before. So this set, I don't anticipate that they'll be able to manage. The other set was able to manage, but this would be even worse. So we need to sort this out within the next couple of weeks.
And just before you go, Dr. Bradshaw, what message would you like to send to the government or even the public at this time as doctors are preparing to stand with our interns? Should they expect less assistance? If you're going to the hospital for help, what should they expect? What's a message that you'd want to send to them?
I'd want to say to Jamaica this. Jamaica, we love you, and we're asking you to have patience with us. And as we fight for you and fight for the dignity of your care, we ask that you understand what the measures that we have had to take. Don't cuss us. We have had to take these measures in order to ensure that your relative, your daughter, your son, you are properly cared for with dignity and the best that the system has to offer you.
All right, thank you so much. That was President of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Dr. Renee Bradshaw. Thanks as always, Dr. Bradshaw. We go now to news in